Good evening. This is the year of magical learning, the YOML Podcast. So today we are on this reflection 228, and we want to talk about the Marshmallow Test.
All right. So the Marshmallow Test, for anybody that doesn't know, is a famous psychological experiment conducted by a psychologist named Walter Mischel, and it's all about self-control and how to master it. Is the idea behind the test. So what the test is a kid is given a marshmallow and he's given a choice. A child, like I think they were like 3 or 4 or something like that. They're given a choice: eat it now immediately, or they can wait and they can enjoy 2 later. The researcher puts a little bell in the room, and then they make the decision as they leave. They said they can come back anytime, ring the bell, you can eat the marshmallow, or you can wait until the researcher comes back and you can get 2, right? So this little bell is basically kind of like a tap out, essentially. I'm ready to eat, I can stop this thing at any time kind of thing. So then they leave the room with the marshmallow, staring at the kid, and it's basically a test of willpower and self-control. How long can they hold out? Or what are they going to do? Are they going to save it? Are they going to wait? Are they going to eat it right away? Are they going to ask for more? Anyway, that's the whole test, right? So it got me thinking a lot. I actually first heard about this particular psychological experiment way back toward the beginning of this journey at a book called The Biggest Bluff by Maria Konnikova. That was the book about her life trying to become a poker player. Yeah, less certainty, more inquiry. Yeah, yes. And she actually studied under Walter Mischel because she was a clinical psychologist, or she was a trained psychologist as well. And she studied under Walter Mischel, and she mentioned, the famous Marshmallow Test guy, like was what she'd always tell people. And I was like, what does that mean? Anyway, I had actually saved this book and put it in my anti-library after finishing Maria's book years ago. And I don't know, I kept seeing it over and over again every time I'd go back to my wish list, and I'd always be like, I don't really want to read that, but I kind of do. And then I don't know, for whatever weird reason, I finally pulled it off the anti-library shelf like 2 years later, and I was like, all right, let's dive into this and see what we learn, right? So here's what I learned. Started this off with the question is when to ring the bell. This might be the most important question we face every single day of our life. In all seriousness, it might be, because we're presented with choices all day long as to whether or not we want to engage or not engage, or we want to hold off and look to the future or something along those lines, right? That is the moral dilemma of almost everything that we do. Do you want to just do what you want to do now, or do you want to wait and see what the future holds, potentially, if you can hold out willpower? That's the dilemma that every human is tested with every single day. So the question then becomes is, when do you ring the bell, right? Is really the question that I was asking myself after I finished this book. And after going through this whole entire thing and putting my thoughts together for this reflection, I decided it's not really the right question of when to ring the bell. I think it's more of a, why do you ring the bell? And here's what I mean by that. This might be the most important lesson I've learned on this entire journey, and that's the idea of tying your actions to meaning and purpose, right? When you tie your actions to meaning and purpose, it fully takes willpower out of the decision-making process, and it distills down your actions to a singular question. Does this align to my values and my purpose in life? If the answer to that is yes, then I do it. If the answer to that is no, then I don't, right? Like it's a very binary decision now with almost everything that I do, for the most part, when I engage my writer, I guess, and my conscious doing, self. So for my answer, it's not when would I ring the bell. It's not when to ring the bell. It's why would I ring the bell. So I would answer this question a little bit differently. And I've kind of talked to you about this before in the past, but here's my answer. 6 days out of 7 days, if I was that child and knew who I am now, right, sat down in that room and they were giving me this test of eat the marshmallow now or wait and get 2, or maybe you get more and continue to hold out. At 6 days out of 7 days of the week, I wouldn't eat any marshmallow. I wouldn't eat the first one they gave me or the second one. I don't care if they were like, hey, take it home, save it up, put it in a bank account, and build your marshmallow bank account. I don't care. I would just say, just give it to charity, give it to a homeless person or something like that. I don't want anything to do with your marshmallow. This is not what I want to do. That's because I'm very strict with my diet. I have a very strict diet anyway because I'm a celiac, but I'm really strict with my diet during the weekdays because I work out every morning. And I work out every morning because that's when I'm living for 2 with my daughter. So if I eat a lot of shitty food the night before, then I have a shitty workout the next day, and I have a bad sleep the night, and I don't get to be able to do the stuff that I want to do the next day, which is my conscious doing, which is aligned to my purpose and my values, is it not? And that's why I wouldn't eat the marshmallow. I mean, point blank period. It wouldn't even be a decision. It would just be like, I know how I'll feel tomorrow, and I'm not going to do that. And I could eat a whole bag of marshmallows if I wanted to, but I don't want to. But on one day of the week, I will. That day of the week is usually Friday night for me. Consciously don't usually work out on Saturday morning. Sometimes I play tennis almost every Saturday morning, but I don't really care how I feel necessarily when I'm playing tennis. That's just for fun for me on that Saturday morning thing. So on Friday nights, I'll usually indulge in a meal that I probably won't eat most of the, no, I won't eat that meal. I'll eat like, queso, and tacos or something like that are really going to fill my stomach up and not feel great after I eat it, probably a little fatty or whatever. I'll eat an extra little chocolate after that meal, and then maybe I'll dip into my non-dairy soy or oat milk ice cream or something like that. I really just don't give a shit on Friday nights. Saturday, this is for me to have fun. This is for my time to do whatever I want to do. So on Fridays, I just indulge myself, and I don't binge eat or something like that where I'm like shoving down a pizza and tacos and then ice cream and then whatever. I still don't overeat. I just don't really care what I eat necessarily during that time. So on that day, if you happen to put that marshmallow in front of me, I would be like, done, next, done, next. I would just keep giving it. The more they wanted to give me, I would just keep eating it as fast as I got it until I was satisfied. And I'd be like, okay, have a good one, and then I'd walk out of the room. So for me, it's really why do I eat or when do I eat that marshmallow, not and why I would ring the bell or not ring the bell for me personally, because this is all about aligning your life around conscious living, which is a very binary decision. It's either does it align to your values or does it not align to your values? And for me, that Friday night does align to my values because one of my values is play and have some fun and not take life so seriously, and all that other good stuff. So that is why I do that stuff a lot of the stuff is very strategically built in, into, not to say that I'm like only live a strategic life or something like that. I also put time to play in my life and just have fun and do whatever. The point is that the actions that I'm doing are consciously going in a particular direction or not. So that's my answer to when I would ring the bell or not. And, for me, like, it actually has distilled life and made it a lot simpler. If anything, it's probably the easiest thing you can do, to be honest with you. I don't even think about a choice anymore for the most part, right? The shit that gives me anxiety is when I used to not have a conscious living attitude, because then you get stuck in that position of, do I need to exercise my willpower here or not? And as we've learned on this journey, willpower is a finite resource, and if you're constantly always having to make that decision of, ooh, willpower, that gets tiring, conscious living and following your values and aligning to your purpose isn't tiring. Like, it's very easy. It's very simple. It's a very binary decision. So anyway, that's my reflection from this book. Love to get your thoughts. Why would you ring the bell or not, is the question. And love to get your thoughts overall on this one.
Yeah, so I think overall,
this is a really famous study.
I mean, to me, there's a lot of things I disagree with in terms of the marshmallow test and the why self-control is the engine of success or whatever he says, right? And first of all, the self-control and the predictability of success is, first you have to determine and define what success is. But both you and I know success means different things to many different people. There could be millions of definitions of success. So one test could not definitively say self-control is the engine of success. To me, that is completely bogus. Okay,
total bullshit. It's total bullshit.
Total bullshit. Okay.
Not only that, it's predicting success on things like SAT scores, better social and cognitive functioning, a healthier lifestyle, and a greater sense of self-worth. Like these are things as defined by society.
It's bullshit. I mean, it's still bullshit, even if you're predicting SAT scores and whatnot. I mean, let's say you explains to me like, hey, if I let you read a book 3 times and I only read the book, skim through it, and you ask me the questions, of course, who's going to answer the questions from the book, better, me or you?
You mean a book that I read and you didn't read?
I read, I skim it, maybe half-assed through it, and you test me on whatever the fucking book says, right? Who you think would have a better correct answer based on per the book? Is it me or you? If you read it 3 times, like as you're supposed to, I just half-assed.
I mean,
so
I would probably.
Essentially, so this is what comes to my second point, is that these things assume you're in a kind environment, but we're not. Sure. We're in a wicked environment. Meaning, like the SAT score to say, okay, you spend more time on this particular text, paragraph, whatever, and somebody asks you a question about it, of course you're gonna know the answer better than the guy who didn't want to even interested in it, right? So you predicting something and say, hey, you know these things because you've seen it 3 times. It's just a matter of repetitions of saying, okay, I've seen it. Self-control gives you the ability to say, hey, don't go play, don't play games, go look at the books, right? Look at the numbers. I mean, at the same time, you don't know shit. Okay, to me, Asian has a very high score, right? And I'm not saying that all Asian are like this, but typically, Asian has a very high score in the academics, but they are stupid. They're dumb as any other people.
Right.
It's because they
It's
study more than the other people do.
I'm glad you're Asian, because if I was on here saying like, man,
Of
Asians are
course.
just stupid, you know, like
They are. I mean, the thing is, there
I'm
are going to
joking.
be a number of people in any race is going to
Right.
be exemplary. I mean, but the fact that the majority of Asians have this high fucking score, to me, I don't want to send my kids to an Asian school because these kids are no good. I mean, they're not going to
Right.
become successful in terms of financial, and that's what I'm trying to get my kid. I want them to be like the American, be creative, be able to use your own thinking to do the thing, not
Right.
regurgitate whatever you see in the book. And SAT score, Asian almost have a fucking perfect SAT scores.
Right.
For the
Right.
most of it,
It
if
is
you don't
impressive.
have perfect SAT score and you're Asian, or you're something's wrong with you. The problem
Yeah,
is
I agree.
you just put your focus on that. And the thing is, most people who are like this MBA, I mean, I've hired MBAs and PhDs in other countries before. I mean, they have fucking PhDs. They can't even fix the fucking like monitor a screen to resize the resolution. Okay, what the fucking
Right.
PhDs for? And they're supposed to get a job in become a programmer. Like I say, it does not predict anything. Just like IQ, they predict something that you make rules for. Like an IQ, you make rules for certain things. Say, okay, if you know this information, then you have a high IQ. But then you look at the people who like are pop culture. They know nothing about economics, and then you take the other side. So they take the highest IQ nerd, and you say, hey, what kind of song the Britney Spears sings, and who has the most number one records, and blah blah. They get dumb as fuck. So to
Right.
me, this is you're dumb in the things that you're not interested in. So to me, when you measure something, so when you measure a self control like Walter Mischel or the IQ like some other people, you basically taking one side. You didn't take the other side. I mean, the thing is, you look at like the people who are like academically good because they are in textbook, right? And you say, well, we only measure the IQ based on the knowledge of the textbook, but not knowledge in the on the experiences, in the creativity, and the other stuff. So to me, you are basically completely like filter out like majority of the dynamics of this world that we live in, which is wicked. It's so dynamic, and you taking that into consideration, and you saying this is a metric, this is the measuring tape. And I cautioned the audience before that you must not use the measuring tape of a kind environment into the wicked environment and use that
Yeah.
as a measuring.
Academia is a kind environment. I mean, there's
Exactly, because it's
score metrics.
based.
There's,
We
I mean,
create this rule
yeah.
for it.
Academia is completely, made up, really. I mean, but like, I think the most important thing with this though is like eating a marshmallow isn't
The test
inherently good or
saying is
bad.
self-control, and
Well,
the
I know,
conclusion.
but I guess what I was getting at is like neither option is inherently good or bad. Like there is nothing wrong with
Right,
not eating
but
a
I want
marshmallow.
to
There's nothing wrong with eating a
dispel
marshmallow.
the direction of the book
But
first.
but no, I agree with you. What I was getting at is I was going to say like the thesis of this is saying that if you don't have if you aren't able to exercise willpower over future growth opportunity over the unknown future, that then you're somehow going to become a failure in life. Like that's only if
That's completely bogus,
I
right?
agree. That's what I'm trying. They're only measuring success off of what society at large deems as a successful person, right?
Well, this guy deemed as successful. I
Exactly.
mean, it's this guy's opinion.
It has nothing to do with what is a successful human being. Like, I mean, your
There's
point
like
of
a
what you're saying, like
million definitions of success based on who you ask.
my definition of success is what I just told you in this thing is like 6
Exactly.
days out of 7 days of the week. It would be a total abject failure for me to eat the marshmallow. One day of the week, I would eat them all. That's fine. What I was getting at with my whole entire reflection is I have a reason for that. If you don't, you're just acting because you think other people want you to act. That is not self. If anything, that's being controlled by other people. True self-control, if you want to call it that, is knowing why you're doing something and actively making that decision. Now, those kids, when you're little kids, they don't have any self-control, and that's not even reasonable to assume.
In any regards, whether
They're doing what
it's a
they've been
kid.
trained to do. Like if your parents are a little more
I mean, if
anal,
your
they're
parents
going to be
smack
more
you
anal.
every time you trying to do free will, then yeah. I mean, to me, Asians would have more control over the American kids, because American kid, they say, well,
And this
you gotta be independent, right? You gotta be creative. Asians say, you follow the rule, I'll smack you over the head. So the thing is, by the time a kid's like 5 years old, he gets smacked so many times, like he dare not even touch the marshmallow until he say, okay, you can eat it. And even though he say he can eat it, he's gonna take it and he's gonna hesitate for a bit. He say, are you trying to trick me? Are you testing me? Right? You look at an Asian kid, that's what they do. But that's what I'm saying is, depending on how you are trained. You are trained to get smacked, therefore you won't do it. And,
that's society training you. You only get trained to do what other people want you to do. Like there's no way in hell there's ever anybody that's training you to do what you want to do, unless you happen to have it be the most blessed human being on the earth, and you have a parent like you or I or something like that, where it's going to be really rare for our children and my children, to grow up where somebody is saying, hey, what do you really like to do? How do you like to live your life? And do you want to make this decision to go do this? And why do you want to make that decision to go do this? And teach them how to live a conscious life of exercise and practicing their values, right? And understanding them and diagnosing these things and reflecting on them. All of these things are also learned behaviors, but it's way easier for us to just slap somebody on the wrist and smack them in the head and say, do this and shut up, and like people do it. We also can be trained to consciously decide things, even as a child. The problem is as a society, we've chosen the latter route of deeming success and failure around, do you follow the rules or not?
Good are you at following the rules? That is the measure of success.
The question should be, how good are you at following your own rules? Do you even have rules is what the question should be, first off. And then what are those rules? And then how good are you at following your own rules?
Right. So the thing is, it goes to my second half of my thought, my 2 cents on this. And I really like the way you put it into this word, conscious living. Okay. I really like the way that you say, well, in order for you to know why you want to ring the bell and when to ring the bell, is because you're conscious of it. And to me, in my opinion, and for my personal self, that is the key. Because it's not about whether you do something or you don't do something. It's about, is there a reason why you do it? And there's a reason, a point in time where you need it. Because it's like you're trying to guide your elephant in a direction. But then you as a rider yourself don't know where you want to go. Or it's like debating on a topic that you have no idea what the topic is about, and you have no stance on anything.
Right.
I mean, it's so difficult to come up with excuses where it has no basis. So to me, that's required willpower, because you're just trying to weather the uncertainty.
Yeah, it's just.
I can tell you this, right? This is an example of when I'm able to make decisions and stick to it. Because I told you, me and my family and my grandparents and my ancestor drink a whole lot of coffee. Mm-hmm. I am addicted to coffee. My blood is dark coffee.
Yeah,
I drink coffee, right? And I try to quit coffee in my mid-20s or late 20s. It does not work because there's no conscious of it. There's no conscious of why I'm doing it. Right? Because I'm trying to fight something I have no idea what I'm fighting for. And that's going to exhaust so much willpower. And it is so mind numbing. It just numbs your mind. Right. And that is the key. Because when I told you that I read the book, Why We Sleep, and it's not even, the book isn't about why we don't drink coffee. I just found
it was a connection point. Yeah.
Inspiration from an exam in the book. And it just turned on my mind. So I'm conscious of it. And so when I quit coffee, I quit cold turkey. And it's the easiest thing I've done. So it's not about self-control. I'm not controlling anything. But like for you, you have a stand. So you mentioned having conscious living, right? and being strategic, but not being strategic. It's strategic because you have this anchor, a point of reference, but
Right.
you don't have to always be aware of the strategic strategy that you implement.
I'm making tree, like basically. It's a pretty easy tree.
It's
Like
very
I mean,
easy. It's just like,
right.
are
It,
you conscious of the thing that you're doing?
it,
That is the only thing you need. The
right.
only thing that you will ever need to be successful. So successful to you is like, I did this because I wanted to, and I'm conscious that I want it. Versus, oh, I want to go left, but I don't really know.
I don't even want a marshmallow 6 days out of 7 days a week. I don't want it. I don't want anything to do with eating gross sweets before I go to bed or whatever or anything like that. I don't want to do that. Like I don't. It doesn't align to that decision making tree. So it's not even a decision. The decision's not even a non-decision. It's like a route tree, right? For a wide receiver, they have a you go this way, the quarterback. You saw the defender goes that way. You break that way, the quarterback knows which way you're going, and
Right.
like you don't even need to have a play to run. It's not like I had to walk into. You could throw me into this experiment, and you could say, "Hey, here's the experiment." I would go, I don't want to play. Like like I mean,
Right, because the thing
I'll
is,
go. Yep,
it goes back to the word conscious.
right.
Are you conscious of what you are doing? Right. So that means when you are taking the marshmallow, you are conscious that you're doing it. To me, that's all that you need. There's
Right.
nothing else you need to justify yourself for. There's no say, hey, I have this, I have that. There's no such thing. As long as you're conscious, say, well, I don't need it. Well, you don't ring the bell. Oh, I want it. Well, you ring the bell. That is as simple as it gets. To
Yeah.
me, like I told you, I don't know how long ago. I think at least 2 years ago, right? That I read the book and quit
Mhm.
coffee. Right? It's not like I've struggled with it. It's not even a struggle.
I'll give you an example of a struggle before this whole journey and before everything that we've gone through before I met you. Like I've talked to you before about gambling, right? And how I quit
Hmm.
gambling when I was like in my early to mid 20s. And I didn't like the way that I felt. I would always want that marshmallow. You know what I mean? Like I knew that I unconsciously was just draw in a weird way. We
Because
talked about this.
you're not conscious.
Right. But
Something else.
but in a weird way, it was a beaver must dam kind of moment because I did love it. It did feed my soul. It gave me so much energy and emotions, and I could do it without even think. I was in a flow state when I would play, and flow state is good, but not when you don't choose it. Because this is when it goes back to getting in a flow state with something that doesn't really align with your life. You might end up like a Michael Phelps or something like that, where you just end up doing it because that's all you know how to do, and it did feel good. But then when you're done with it, you're like, oh God, like I don't know what to do, and I feel terrible, kind of thing. And now I don't know why I was ever doing it in the first place, and now I'm like just stuck in the middle of an island, and I can't get out of here, right? Well, in the gambling scenario when I was younger, it was more of a willpower situation, right? So I always wanted to play. Even when I knew that I shouldn't play, I always wanted to play. Like I would still every once in a while, after I would go to the casino or I'd gamble online. Thank God they banned gambling online when I was in my early 20s and it became illegal because like that was the easiest way to always get sucked back into, you have a couple drinks on a Friday night and you come back home from a bar and you're like, "Oh, all right, well, I haven't gambled in like a month, I'll play it for like $50. And before I know it, I'm, $1,000 in and, and doing my, hoodie up and, music playing and, a whole bottle of wine next to me and I'm on a 24-hour bender, and I don't even think about it, right? But it's like that was like reality, right? When I would do these things, and the biggest difference though is I did quit it and I did quit successfully, but it took me a long time and it was a lot of pain and heartache of that quitting, right? Like there wasn't a clean quit, right?
I think
A lot of willpower.
go back to what I'm saying before. It's like when I quit my coffee back in my late 20s, it was very, very difficult.
It was painful.
It was like I went into withdrawal. I'm basically like a zombie. I basically entire week I can only operate Tuesday, peak on Wednesday, morning Thursday, and then on a Thursday afternoon and the rest of the weekend or whatever, I'm completely like useless. You can't ask me any questions and get an intelligent response. It was very hard for me to quit coffee in my late 20s. And I remember a very negative experience, very negative memory of that time, very hazy moment, hazy memory. And the feeling is very heavy and negative.
Mhm.
And to me, based on what I've learned from that experience and the experience I quit 2.5 years ago, is the first one is I have no reason why I'm doing something.
You just
The
didn't feel
second
right.
one, I
And you just
have a conscious of it. I'm
right,
conscious of what I'm doing. I see it clearly.
right.
And so that's the thing is when you're fighting something you don't know and you don't know how to fight it, right? That is when it's
All
hard because
willpower.
you're
Willpower.
fighting the unknown.
It's all
You're
willpower.
fighting vapor in a
Right.
way. And it creates, the possibilities of different outcomes. Basically creates suffering. It creates suffering for you, right? It's because you say, well, I know I should quit, but I don't really know why, right?
Yes.
When people say, hey, if I go to you and I say, hey, Chris, let's try an experiment. I'm going to drive this sword through your heart, but believe me, it won't hurt. It's just a magic trick. But the thing is, if you don't know it, would you be afraid if I, you know, impale
Yeah,
the
of
sword?
course.
Of course, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's basically a similar concept. When you're fighting something and when you're choosing something, but you don't know why, it is difficult. And in order for you to maintain your stance, you need willpower to maintain that stand because
A
let's say
ton of energy.
you're supposed to debate something and you're supposed to take a side, but you have no idea what side to take, or you are told to take this side, positive or negative, on a topic. It takes willpower to stand there,
Right.
right? And so that's what I'm saying. If I were to drive this sword through you, even though I told you like it's going to be okay, it's just a magic trick, right? Nothing's going to happen to you, but unless you know how it is done, you going to be afraid. This guy can I trust him or can I trust him?
Right.
And so you're going to suffer for that moment until it's done, whether it's, it turned out to be true or turned out to be false, right? You're going to suffer in your mind until that
Yeah,
happens. When you're
every moment is
fighting
a decision. Every moment is a fight.
decisions,
Right. It's a fight.
it costs exhaustion,
It's
costs
it's it's it's
willpower.
exhausting. It's beyond exhausting. Like it's why, like when I was
It's a
about,
perpetual energy suck.
you always have to make that decision over and over again where you're weighing the future versus the present. That's kind of what, we've talked about addiction before, and and how addiction can sometimes be a good thing, and it is, like, but we as a society label it as a bad thing. But if you're addicted to the right stuff, it's totally good. If you know why you're doing these things, like, totally good to do that stuff. But if you're doing the bad stuff where you're constantly having to make that cost benefit analysis of weighing the future and the present in every single moment of the day, of whether or not to drink coffee or to gamble, or whether or not to do this or to do that, like, or whether or not
That's
to eat
so
the,
much
it's so
power
much.
consumption.
It's so much. Like, I mean, I remember the last time that I ever gambled, it was one of my best friend's 30th birthdays. So I was 28, and it had been like a year since I had gambled at all. Really cut back like 100%. I didn't play online, I didn't do anything. I only would ever go to a casino if I happen to find myself out with friends or whatever, and they wanted to go to a casino. I was like, yeah, fine, I'll go with you guys. But I didn't want to be in that environment or anything like that. So I had already kind of taken it out of my life. It was one of my best friend's 30th birthday parties. He was 2 years older than I am. I was 28. And we went to this casino over a weekend in Southern Indiana. It's a really cool casino down there. I was there with my friends, and I'm like, all right, it's one of my best friend's 30th birthday. I'll have fun. I took out like $250 in cash to go gamble. This is just totally play money. It's like going to a concert. Like, you just spend $250 on a concert. If it's gone, it's gone. Not a big deal at all. That's how most normal people think of when they go gambling or something like that. That is not how I thought about it when I would gamble. So the night gets longer. We've all been drinking all night long. We're having a good time. There was like 3 or 4 couples of us down there, and everybody's ready to kind of call it a night. It's like 1 a.m. or something like that on one of the nights that we're down there. And I'm like, I'm up a little bit right now. I think I'll stay down here. And my wife is like, you sure? And I was like, yeah. We had only been married for like a year or two at that time, and I'm like, yeah, it'd be fine. But we'd been together for like 6 years. So I mean, she's known like me, like, I don't want to gamble, but I was like, I'll stay down here. It's fine, and she's like, okay, fine. So before you know it, I'm walking into like 7 a.m. in the morning, and I had lost like $2,000, and I'm like, what the fuck happened? I literally don't even know. I like blacked out or something like that. Like in the middle of this whole, I'm like, how did this happen? Like, I mean, and I crawled into bed next to her, and that was the last time I remember gambling. Like, I don't even care. It wasn't like I was mad that I lost $2,000 or whatever. I've made plenty good money in my life, since I was like 24 or something like that, where I've made plenty enough money where $2,000 doesn't really register anything necessarily on my life scale. But like in my head, I'm going, I just wasted $2,000, and I'm up at 7 a.m. at one of my best friend's birthday parties while everybody else is nice and asleep and ready to go to breakfast in the morning. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? And this was my life every single day for many,
Mhm.
many years, where I had to actively fight that battle of whatever to do or to not to do. Like, and it's not even a battle anymore. Like, if you asked me to go do that exactly right now, I probably wouldn't even go to the casino. But if I did, like, I would say, that's fine. I'm just going to sit over here and watch you guys gamble and let you guys watch you have fun. Like, and I'm good. Like, I'm just not even going to play. There's been many a times when people have asked me to go to Vegas or, to go to a casino with them, or like, even just play poker for fun with friends. I'm like, no, I'm good. I don't want to these days now. Like, it's an easy decision now, right? I remember how exhausting that feeling felt like all the time, where I'm like, look, I make good money. I'm fine. I can waste money if I want to. There's nothing wrong with gambling at a casino until 7 a.m. with one of your best friends, but it was for me, and I knew it. It's exactly like eating a marshmallow, It was always a constant decision whether or not to eat the marshmallow or to not eat the marshmallow. And I'm glad I don't have to worry about that shit anymore, because it's not how you want to live your life. It's exhausting.
Back to the keyword. Okay, I think this is very important. If you guys can understand what I'm trying to say, the keyword is conscious.
Yeah, of course.
When you're conscious of it, because when I'm conscious of my coffee drinking, right, I'm already made my decisions. So when this coffee comes, I don't even begin to process it. I say, well, it's not for me. Just like for you, like, oh, gambling is not for me anymore. I know my decision. I have already made it. I was conscious of it. I make my decisions. I've gone through all the analysis. I'm done. The decision is final. It is on this side. So whenever gambling comes, opportunity comes, say, well, my decision is made. This is the verdict, right? Just take out the verdict. It's not like, okay, oh, let's discuss it and blah, 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 and have this internal fight. The battleground, I mean, basically that to me, in a nutshell, is what life suffering is about. It's about having that internal conflict between the two sides, your left brain and right brain, your angels and your devil on each shoulders trying to fight. That, to me, is what creates the suffering. And that, to me, is what creates the ability to not kind of like to let go of your control over the situation. So when you're conscious of something, you say, well, I have deliberated my verdict, and every time when a situation comes, I just take out the verdict and hand it to you. Say, well, this is the verdict. There's nothing to discuss. There's no willpower to be needed to do through all this process. So that's, to me, once you have it made, it is done and it's easy. So like it's this, because you're not struggling, because you never let the topic to start in the discussion at all.
There's a side that you're dead on right, and there's another side effect to all this too. Even when you do engage and eat the marshmallow, you still don't enjoy it. You don't enjoy either, right? Like, that's the shittiest part when it's not conscious, when it's unconscious doing. Neither one of them are enjoyable at that point in time, because you don't know why you're doing it either way. So like, gambling or not gambling to me was suffering at that time in my life, right? If I gambled, I suffered. If I didn't gamble, I suffered. It was a no-win situation, right? I couldn't enjoy either, options. I couldn't enjoy eating the marshmallow or not.
So that's my point.
It doesn't matter. I mean, neither one of you don't like it.
Because you're gonna suffer if you do. You suffer, you don't.
I mean, the goal in life should be to take out as much decision-making structure that you need to do. Like, you shouldn't have to read the whole defense and figure out what route am I going to run, then go back and tell your quarterback, what route. By the time you do that, you're going to get knocked out by the linebacker.
It's like when the quarterback hike the ball and you run with the playbook. Let me look through this again. I go left, you go right. Right?
No, you just got to know what, like, the least amount of decisions that you can make, like in tennis, like the least amount of decisions that I can make in a match.
The thing is, when I think it's a few reflection back, it's once you get to the point where your elephant, remember we're talking about let the elephant be the elephant?
Yeah, right, yeah. When it's game time.
The best player, they don't think. They just act, because the thing is, they just know when there's an open area, they go there. They don't think about it. There's no decisions.
Right.
There's no decisions, because the conscious mind, the writer, already deliberated and give a verdict to the elephant and say, elephant, execute this. When you go into this situation, you execute. So there's not a struggle at all, because it's instinctively, you just go, and that's the best players. The best, like, you look at all the quarterbacks, right? The quarterbacks makes it look so easy because they don't think about it. They just let the elephant does the work. What gets them sacked?
They get the happy feet. They start dancing around. They take an extra split second or whatever, and they don't get the ball out. Get sacked all the time, fumbles, whatever. I mean, it's when you have to think, you're in trouble, right? That's the honest to God truth. Like I was just describing to you right now, I don't have to think about what I do most days. Now, if you threw some roadblock in front of me and like, okay, for instance, let's play out another scenario. This person at work that I inherited that, I won't name just because it's probably unfair, isn't a cultural fit with what we're trying to do with Club Any Light. Like, I was forced into a decision-making structure, right? With that, I could either engage and completely, have to make a decision every single time that I interacted with this person or didn't interact with this person, or I could say, you know what, like cut it off completely because my focus is over here, and if this ever starts to overweigh that, then I'm just gonna leave because like that's not like I don't want to be that person that's fighting that other person. She's not a bad person. She's just a person
Not
that
the right
doesn't
fit.
align with yeah, she's not the right fit, right? So that's okay. But the more that I waste my time and energy on that, because I have to actively
That's wasting energy and
whenever I'm around
exhausting.
her, yeah, it's exhausting. Whenever I'm dealing with her, my emotions come out and it takes me away from the values of the life that I want to live. Easily. I can tell you this every single time because you can ask my wife. She's sick of hearing this person's name. And she's like, you know what? Like, just like I recognize what's going on, right? I'm not stupid. This is the whole journey that we've been on. I consciously redirect myself into a direction that I know this needs to go, right? Now, sometimes you do get thrown roadblocks like that.
Because that's something you haven't made
Right.
decisions. And so to me, when you were thrown in this situation, you were exhausting your energy. You are using willpower to
So
kind of
exhausting.
keep it balanced.
Right.
And you're gonna get frustrated until you make a decision. Hey, this person is not the right fit. See, that's what I do. I'm just gonna focus on my company
Done.
life or my culture. Your suffering and your frustration starts to reduce.
It's gone now. I don't care anymore.
Because you make the decision and you constantly make the decision to say, well, this is important to me on this end. Whatever she's doing, it doesn't matter because she's not the right fit. I'm not gonna try to incorporate into her team. I'm not gonna change her. And then you have made the decision. Once you do that, your suffering goes away and your exhaustion goes away because there's no internal battle between whatever it is you're trying to do, right? Because that's what our brain does. It explores all the possibility, and the possibility of colliding. That creates suffering. The more possibility that they of any outcome, the more suffering you will get.
The more decision making you have to do in any outcome,
Right,
the more you suffer.
It could be like, hey, you won the lottery, and you have a bunch of money. You don't know how to safeguard it or whatever.
Oh, it's like the lottery curse. I mean, that's a real thing.
Like you say,
when you could buy anything, you buy everything, and you're like, why do I want to buy any of it?
Yeah, you suffer when you didn't win the lottery. You say, hey, I don't have enough money. I can't do shit, right? And you can't decide, and you struggle, so you suffer. And then when you win the lottery, oh fuck, I have to pay all these taxes. Oh fuck, I don't know how to safeguard this thing. Right? You're suffering. It's not about, hey, do you have the money or not have the money? Do you have marshmallow or not have marshmallow?
It doesn't.
It only matters once you have constantly make a decision and render a verdict. Every time something comes up, you just hand the verdict. No fighting, no struggle whatsoever.
Right.
And that's what frees you from the struggle, from the suffering of this human life. I mean, human life, that's what it is. Because it doesn't matter, like I say, you can take the marshmallow and you eat it, and you feel bad. Say, well, maybe I shouldn't eat it. And then the one that you say, well, I don't want to take it. And then you say, well, I may have
I could eat a marshmallow. I mean, yeah, like it's just a stupid marshmallow. Like,
so either way, you suffer.
Right.
Either way, you struggle because whether you took the marshmallow or you didn't take the marshmallow, you will suffer. But you're going to be free, and you're going to be so liberated and energized because you are making a decision and you stick with it.
This is a really important thing. It's why did you make the decision? Have a why as to why decision.
What core values aligned with who you're supposed to be. Like I say, Beaver must stand. Beaver can't be a lion. Don't try to be a lion. Say, hey, I want to be identified as a lion. I want to be identified as, a fox or whatever. If you're a beaver, right, that's what you must be. You cannot be something else. Right. And so these core values help guide you to a decision. And once your decision is made based on those natural core values, then whatever you do, you just hand the verdict and you're going to feel liberated. Because in any circumstance, you're going to suffer the one way or another. It doesn't matter if you took the marshmallow or not took the marshmallow. You're going to suffer. Yeah. And that's the thing is my wife does this is a similar thing all the time. It's like, she goes to buy something, like maybe the phone. She already bought the phone. The decision has been made, it's been paid for, it gets shipped, you're using it. and she's still looking at other phones if the decision she made was correct.
Right.
And so she is suffering.
You never want to be in limbo, understand why you're doing
Exactly.
one way or the other,
Take a side.
pick a side and have a reason why. Pick a side and have a reason why.
But you're debating something when you didn't take a side, right? It's hard to debate anything because you say, well, I don't know. So
I can put myself right back in that. I know I can see it in my mind right now. I'm back in the casino, French Lick, Indiana at that time. And I'm sitting at the table with my friends. I'm like, I'm having fun. It's fine. $250, like nobody cares. Like I can do this. I can be a normal human being and just gamble for fun money. If I lose, I lose. If I win, I win. No big deal. I remember saying this stuff to myself. Like I would go sit down at the table and I'm like, that's fine. We can do this. It's not a big deal. Like, you don't gamble all the time. It's not like you waste money, like playing stupid online games or anything like that anymore. It's like, who cares? Like you make plenty of money. Like, have fun tonight. Like just enjoy yourself. Like literally, this is the debate that's going on in my mind. I mean, and now, I mean, on the other side of my mind, it's like, well, it's been like a year, Chris. Like, I mean, you know how you felt last time you did this stuff. Like, you just feel awful. You get that regret feeling, that the adrenaline rush, you can't control yourself. You find yourself just going back to the ATM over and over. And every time you say,
last time for the 10th time.
Until your bank stops your card from working, where they're like, hey, you can't withdraw any more money out of your account. And you're like, what the fuck? And then you're going to find your other credit card or something like that. And you're like, oh, I guess I'll just take money out of my credit card or something because my ATM account won't let me take more money out of it for the day because I need to call Chase and it's 7 a.m. and nobody will let me, like, I mean, this is when you have like problems, right?
Right.
But this is what I'm saying is like, I know I can put myself back into that. If I have to debate myself in that moment, I'm always going to lose either way. Like no matter what, because if I said, you know what, just go back to the room all night long, I would have been sitting there with my wife going, why did I come back here? I really want to go down to the tables and play. I'm fine. Like I don't play ever. Like I just want to go play. Like let me go play. Let me have fun. Like let me enjoy myself. And then I'd just be angry at her. And it's just a no-win situation.
Remember yesterday you asked, when is the right time to fire somebody?
The first time you think of it. I'm starting to really like that idea, like about everything, it's like whenever you feel something.
Because the thing is, if you have to use willpower to sustain something, eventually that willpower is going to go away and that's going to happen.
Exactly.
So the more willpower you have, the longer you're going to prolong the situation, but it will eventually trigger and it will go when eventually it will happen.
Eventually,
that's the point. So when you are fighting internally among yourself, right? Eventually, you're going to be in that situation where you're not in control of whatever it is because it's relying on how much willpower on one side or another. Because one time, they decide to say, hey, we should continue to play. On the other side, we should quit or whatever. Decided on, like, let's say when you quit, is it because the ATM refuses to give you money and that gives you an arsenal to fight the other side and you won temporary for that side. So that way you stop and then something else come back. So you always go back and forth until you as a writer decide, look, I have consciously looked at all these things and based on the decision tree that we created on a framework to make decisions, I say this is not what we should be doing. And this is fine now. You give it to the elephant say, well, the guy upstairs said no.
Right. Pretty much. That's exactly right. Because like
it's like you say, hey, the guy upstairs say no. There's nothing to debate. Throw me any reason. I'm not telling you your reason is not justifiable. I say, look, the guy upstairs say no. So I don't care what reason you give me. The discussion is gonna stop. The angel, you're not like bouncing back the ideas, or you're not volleying the idea like a tennis player.
I look at it as like you filter it through a value filter. We've done this before. We do this for company stuff. I mean, that's what this meeting is, right? And the intention of the 7th generation committee meeting was, if we have a decision, we filter it through our values of company, and we decide, is this a yes or is this a no? And we've done this multiple times. We do this almost every night now when we do this YOML podcast in a lot of ways, because we're either reinforcing, yep, go this way, or nope, don't go that way. But like, at the end of the day, we made this conscious decision of company at the very beginning of all of this stuff. When we said, like, look, we either go this way or we've done it now multiple times where we've completely changed directions. We're like, this is not going the way that we wanted it to go, and it's not aligning to our values. we're going to stop this and we're going to go and we're going to keep going that way. How many times have we done that now? At least like 10, I feel like at least 5 to 10 times in different
Yeah, at
scenarios.
least.
Like, that's totally fine. That's got us where we're going, and it's going to continue to get us to go where we go. But you and I guarantee if this was a traditional just partner collaboration where we got together to start a business, if it was just Sport Pass, like we got together to start at the beginning of this, we would be long gone from working with each other. I can guarantee that. We would have had to have made a decision. Do we go, no go? Do we go, no go? Do we start, do we stop? Do we start, do we stop? We would have had to make, eventually we would have gone like, is this really worth it anymore? But that's never been what we've been doing, and it was never the intention ever from the jump because of how this whole entire relationship started, right? If we had just got together to work on a project at the very beginning of this, do you think we would still be working together?
We don't know where things are going, right? We have no idea the direction that each of us have in mind, right? What we imagine. So I
Right.
think it's going to be clear to each of us that the path might divert very early on. 3 months, you can tell, because it's one of those things where once the decisions, because the thing is, I think it's the indecisions that cause the exhaustion. Once you exhaust something, it's harder to maintain any kind of momentum. Decisions
Right.
is very exhausting. So that's why I'm saying is, in my experience, and I've gone through so many of these now that I'm very convinced that you need to make decisions. To me, just make fucking decisions. Just
Right.
start going, and then you fix it as you fly.
Use your values as your compass
Right.
as you fly.
But like I said, let's say you're driving. The thing is, think of us driving a car down the street, and there's no brake, there's no accelerations, right? It's gonna go at a constant speed, like at 30 miles an hour, and you have to make a decision to turn left, turn right, go straight. You have to make decisions. You cannot not make decisions.
Right.
Just make one and adjust. And to me, that is going to be the best possible, optimal for you to utilize your willpower, because otherwise if you don't know, it's going to create a lot of those exhaustions, and exhaustions creates.
If I could go back and redo my whole life, right? Like, back to when, like, because we talk a lot about, a beaver must dam, right? Meaning if there's something that's just compelling you to do and you enjoy doing it, then do that because you're meant to do that. Knowing what I know now and knowing the journey we've gone down, and this is just a total hypothetical, if I would have known that when I first started playing poker when I was like 18 years old and I found that love, but I also knew this other stuff as well, I might actually be a professional poker player right now because I probably would have been able to manage how I was making those decisions in those moments and been able to continue to say, well, you do love this, like, because I still do love poker, like not gambling. I don't love gambling, but I love poker. Like, I love being at a table. I love reading people. I love being able to the situational, analysis of trying to
You
guess.
love psychology.
I love the psychology of it.
Psychology, and you love the ability to be able to use the information to form some kind of basis.
Right.
That's like discovery, okay?
Yeah,
and to me, that is what you're attracted to, because poker, in a way, utilizes psychology as part of the ingredients in the game. And in order for you to get the ingredient, you have to be part of the game. And so that's where the blindness comes in, because you're blind to the fact that this is covered in this array of different rules and games and gambling. But you're addicted to the ability to psychologically profile somebody, figure out, are they bluffing, figure out, what kind of chances you get, all the psychology, all the thrill that comes with it. And you are attracted to that, but not attracted to the other aspect. And that's where the blinding comes in. Without having the values to guide you, you can only have the ability
it was just my elephant
conjure,
running wild.
you can like dream up whatever you think is possible, and it's limited because you don't have the core values to say, hey, based on this triangulation, that this is not what it seems.
I mean, my elephant was running wild, and to be fair, who knows? Maybe I would have, through the wild roller coaster swings of letting my elephant guide down that journey, maybe I would have magically found my way to a successful career in that world. But I know I would have been just torn apart. And, my life would have been just the wildest swings you could ever have imagined. I would have been an alcoholic, chain smoking at a casino table all night long, anxiety, stress, sweat all day long, unhealthy, probably living by myself in Vegas or something like that right now. You know what I mean? Like nothing. I mean,
Probably living by myself under the bypass.
well, maybe he said I could have. You never know what could happen. I mean, maybe I'm, have $100 million in the bank or something like that, but I still would be lonely and miserable. Like either way, I know that would have been the outcome. But
Yeah, because the thing is that the aspect of poker is in what you want, and that's going to turn against you eventually. Like you were saying before, the best time to fight somebody is when you think about it, because eventually, if you already have the thought of firing somebody, you're just using your willpower to keep from happening. You're just prolonging the inevitable.
here's a question for you. What happens when you want to fire somebody? You recognize you want to fire somebody, but you can't fire somebody.
When you say you can't, why not?
This is what's going on with this other person. I immediately knew first time that I met her, that's it. She needs to go. I made the decision. I have the authority to fire people, but just doing my due diligence, asked somebody above me, like, hey, if I did this, would you support this? No, there was no rhyme or reason to this. It wasn't like I just knew that person is not a fit. It's clear. I mean, it's very crystal clear.
I mean, the thing is, it's hard. It's hard to say, and we don't live by ourselves, so we can't really make decision based on that. But you can always lean towards the core values and say, this is how I'm going to approach it. So I'm gonna say, well, this is a person that's not the right fit. So I don't see a future of her in my team or in this culture group of ours. So basically, this is what it's gonna come to.
Totally isolated, on an island by yourself. Like that's what I'm doing. My point is sometimes you don't get to make the decision.
Decisions. You gotta make decision not to have anything to. You make decision not to include her into the group based on your future image of let's say projecting 6 months, a year from now.
She's not
the
even
picture
a part of
you
the
have
conversation.
inside of that image. Therefore, you already made a decision, and it will liberate your mind.
Yeah. Yes.
Because if you say, "Well, I don't know," I'm gonna let the actual decisions to say ink or to give the signature or whatever, that isn't important. It's a decision of the mental. It's a decision of the mind. Because regardless of you, like I say, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as you're concerned, ceasefire, right? That means you already made the decisions. Regardless whether it's official or not official, to say, okay, somebody has realigned her with somebody else, whatever. But as far as I'm concerned, she's already not part of my team. That decision will be made, and that is the most important one. The other one is just the motion.
Just avoiding.
Well, the other one just going waiting for the motions to carry. It's there's nothing more, right? Because that does not, because you're not struggling internally inside your mind, because that's mainly the struggle that we have. And to me, we are.
It does sometimes because you technically live on the same island as this person and you accidentally run into them every once in a while.
You have to understand, this is why I say everybody that work for a company need to have a side personal project. Because the thing is, like for me, I am a contractor, right? I go and I work for somebody. I work on a project. I don't give a shit what kind of politics they're in. It doesn't bother me.
Right.
It doesn't bother me because the thing is, I already make a decision that this is not what I want to, the company I belong to. But the moment that there are certain times where I'm taking a full-time position with a company, it bothers the heck out of me because this is company, this is my future. But you look at it from that perspective, a third person, it's no different of a situation whether I'm a contractor or I'm an employee. But because I have mentally decided that this is not what I want to be involved in, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who is nasty, who isn't nasty, or who is kind, or whatever. I don't really care. So when you work for a company and the company tells you to do some certain things that, let's say they ask you to do like remember that project that you did for your boss or whatever about the presentations and all that. You did a good job of it with a short amount of time, and then she starts to kind of like scratch it up and tear it apart and put it, like the art that you put together has been spit on, step on, whatever. So that's, to me, when you work for a company, you will run into a situation like that more often than not. Because that's the thing, is this is your whole life's work, it's your pride and joy. Therefore, if somebody's gonna do that to you, it is very devastating to the spirit. That's why when you work for somebody, if you have a side gig where you personally are involved in a certain thing, it doesn't hurt as much because you're not like 100% invested into the work
Right.
that you do. Even if somebody spat on that, you still have, well, this personal thing of mine is still intact. Well, it's not the worst thing in the world. But if
Well,
somebody were to take your baby that you just created and you
right.
put your heart, sweat, and tears into it, and then start to spit on it and trample on it and throw it in the trash, right? That kills any spirit.
That's it. I totally agree. And that's a topic for another day. But I was going to say maybe the problem is none of us should work for somebody. That may be the problem. The way that we even
What, like you were saying, we
work for
don't have,
yourself always.
we ultimately,
Right.
you're supposed to be able to transition from where you are into where you want to be.
Right.
Because like I said, you and I, we don't control our way of life when we first, born into this world, because when we're born, we don't know anything. So we are conditioned until we're about 18 years old. I mean, for most people, it should be about like 7 years old, 10 years old. You're supposed to have this conscious living. To
Mhm.
me, that's ideally. But for us as American society, you don't actually become independent until you're 18. And people say, well, until you're 18, you follow my rule, blah, 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 right? That just kills it. So you are being brainwashed up until you're 18 years old. So you are going to be where people want you to be, and you're going to be and depending on how good you are at adhering to the law, you're going to be exactly where they want you to be. And for most of us, it's not where we want to be. So you're going to have to transition from where you are into where they want to be.
Right.
So ideally, you shouldn't be working for anyone but for yourself.
But
I.e., that's why
that doesn't mean you
company is
shouldn't work
important.
with you do it
Right.
for yourself. But I got to pause for the night though, because I got to go to bed.
We're gonna go.
We're way over for the night, but that's okay because that was a fun conversation. I mean, we could do this all day long. This is, when you're having fun and you're in a flow state and you're having a good time, like you don't even recognize it. But we've been talking for a long time, and it is late at night, so we got to go to bed. All right, wrap it up for the day. Question we can leave for everybody is why. That's the most important word: is why would you ring the bell or not? When you know that,
Great.
then you know the answer. Thanks for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow.
Sounds good. See you. Good night.